You know, the Kings of Comedy, man, when we started this, it was just three of us, me, Cedric the Entertainer, and Bernie Mac. And we didn't even know it was gonna work because the kid that came to us with the idea was 26 years old. He said, I think you all should play in basketball arenas. Well, that's 20,000 seats. Now, I was selling 5,000, Ced was selling 5,000, and Bernie was selling 5,000 alone. But together, we just didn't see in one night 20,000 tickets. But this 26-year-old kid convinced us to do it. And the first night we did it in Charlotte, North Carolina, we sold out. Every day after that, we sold out. We were selling so many tickets, man. We were doing basketball arenas Friday, Saturday, like the MCI Center in Washington, D.C. We did Friday and Saturday, both of them sold out. Then the kid comes back to us and said, I can get the arena next Friday and Saturday, same city. We said, same city? You can't sell these tickets again? He said, you're very popular. They put the tickets on sale Monday morning, boom, we sold out again. We sold out 94,000 tickets, man, in 2 weekends. And so we became really close. It was the brothers. And then the second year, we added D.L. Hughley to the show, just to give us some more. And we toured together, and we were just like the highest grossing comedy tour in the history of comedy. Nobody had ever sold that many tickets than the Kings. But the thing about America, though, there was no newspaper articles about us. Nothing for 2 years. For 2 years, they wouldn't even write about us. They wouldn't give us a story or nothing. It's just four blacks. What are they doing? That's nothing. They didn't know how many tickets we were selling. We was making, man, we made like $58 million. We was making so much money, man. And
we're gonna start from the top of the segment.
All right. So when Bernie passed, man, I mean, I was actually in Chicago. Bernie had a disease called sarcoidosis, and it only affects black people and Asians. It's called sarcoidosis. It's a lung disease. And Bernie was in the hospital. This was 10 years after the Kings of Comedy. He went into the hospital. And we had just started talking about doing a 10-year reunion. The Kings was gonna come back after 10 years. So I was in Chicago hosting a parade called the Bud Billiken Parade, and Bernie was in the hospital. So I said, before I go to when I get finished with the parade at 12 o'clock, I'm gonna go to the hospital and see Bernie. So I get up that morning, I go downstairs to have breakfast at 6 o'clock, and Reverend Al Sharpton walked in and said, hey man, did you hear about Bernie? I said, no. He said, Bernie died last night at 2 o'clock. Man. I was going to go see my dude right after the parade. He was gone. So I had to call Ced, the entertainer, to tell Ced that Bernie was dead. That's a phone call you don't want to make. And so we these brothers, and you find out, we were brothers. You find out your brother died. You know, crushing moment. His funeral was crazy, man. It was so crowded, it's a mega church, it was huge, man. It's 30,000 people at this dude's funeral, man, in Chicago. It's a lot of people, so he's a great brother, man, so we just keep it alive. This year right here, 2020, marks the 20th year anniversary of the release of the movie Kings of Comedy. Yeah. There are no great comedians that's not like 35. I mean, you think about it. Name the great comedian that you know of that is under 35. It's hard, you know why? Because you don't have nothing to talk about. You know, you gotta have material. You gotta be able to relate to the most people. You know, I used to do colleges. I did one season of colleges, I couldn't go back. They didn't even know what I was talking about. Divorce. What do you mean you got a divorce? What do you mean you got fired? They ain't even had a job yet. What do you mean they cut your credit card up? And I was doing like jokes about life, and college kids don't have that. So it's kind of hard to be really great. Like Kevin Hart, I watched him for a lot of years, struggle. And then all of a sudden, Kevin caught fire because he had life experience then, you know. Like I was with him the other day, we was talking, he said, I saw him somewhere, he said, damn, Unc, you getting old. You look old. I said, well, you keep driving off cliffs, you ain't gonna ever get old. So. You know, your young ass ain't gonna out-snap me. That's not how it works. So I got too much experience with this. Yeah, but that's about it for me, man. It's really hard. But DC, Kill Spates. I know some guys that didn't get this dude named Rod Man. Very funny, never got. Earthquake never really cracked the big time, but Earthquake, when you go see him live, oh my God, you vomit. You just vomit. Earthquake. Earthquake could have been one of the kings, man. One of the kings of comedy. It was a couple people we were going to consider. But when I was growing up, it was Jonathan Winters, Red Skelton, Jackie Gleason, oh man, Red Buttons. But, you know, that's who was on TV when I was a kid. You know, that's who I saw. George Carlin. That's who was on TV. And then when Richard Pryor came along, that was it. That was it, greatest I ever saw. But Jackie Gleason was funny, man. I wanted to be him so bad. Jackie Gleason show, he used to come out there, sit in that chair with that glass of scotch, smoking a cigarette. I thought that was the coolest I was 13, man. I got me a cigarette one time and lit it and was sitting on the porch with a Coca-Cola, acting like I was Jackie Gleason. My daddy out of me. Never smoked a cigarette since. Martin Lawrence is the best mimicker I've ever been around in my life. What he did on Def Jam was unthinkable. He's the best mimicker. The most talented, versatile stand-up ever born on this planet was Jamie Foxx.
Jamie Foxx, another one.
Legend. No, but I'm telling you, but we can't put everybody on this rock.
Yeah.
Now I'm impartial because I'm one of the kings, but I know what the kings did for black comedy.
Yes,
Right.
I know what it was, man. It launched. You can ask Kevin. It launched a Kevin Hart. There's no Cat Williams. There's no Kevin. There's no none of these dudes, man.
Yeah.
Earthquake, who was a bad boy. You know, Bill Bellamy, Adele Givens, Monique Samora, Teddy Carpenter, Damon Wayans. It's some boys. J. Anthony Brown. Man, the first week of Def Jam, on the stage in one night was Martin Lawrence, all of the Wayans brothers, Jamie Foxx, Bill Bellamy, Bernie Mac, Cheryl Underwood, Steve Harvey, Cedric the Entertainer, J. Anthony Brown, Teddy Carpenter, Adele Givens. Dog, that stage was no genre bred more still living talented people than Def Jam.
Chris Tucker too was on there. Part of the Def Jam.
Chris Tucker was on that stage. This boy, see, you can't. That genre right there was nothing else. But that Mount Rushmore for me, because I know what the Kings was, man.
Nah, it was legend.
Still the highest grossing.
It's just it's something that ain't nobody finna do that. You can get 4. Like I love these boys at 85 South. But they doing something, man, I never thought would be done. That's why I got to take my hat off to them. Because I don't know how they did this, man. They actually go on stage in the living room setting and sit around and talk and sell out, and the shit is funny. They've taken improv comedy to a whole nother level.
Yeah, like live conversations.
Yeah, they're different. We did that show, and after the show, we just like, how did they just do that? Like,
Dog,
they just wing it.
They're so talented, you don't realize it. Like, as it's happening, you're like, did this just happen?
I didn't think that could work. I tried improv comedy, I can't do it, and then I don't understand dividing the check. That's always threw me. We gonna get this check and we gonna split it. Now I gotta do this myself, but 85 South has came along, Chico and Mancia and DC and them boys, and they special, man. They changed the way comedy could be done. So my hat's off to them young boys right there, man, because I didn't think it could work. But once again, it wasn't in my imagination. It was in theirs. So that's my view, man. 1989, I had a small room I was booking in Dallas, Texas called Vuku Ray. And I used to book all the acts before you knew any of them. Jamie Foxx, Bernie Mac, Adele Givens, Bill Bellamy, Martin Lawrence. Before you knew any of them people, I was booking them in this small room. And I had this guy performing named Rex Garvin, and he wasn't doing that well, but I was letting him work anyway. And a friend of mine named Percy Cruz called me and said, hey man, this guy from St. Louis named Cedric the Entertainer was performing at the club across town, the Funny Bone, and they canceled him out. They overbooked it, so they sending him home. Could he come to your club and do 5 minutes audition? I said, yeah, send him over. Dude walked in, Cedric the Entertainer, said, what's your name, man? He said, Cedric the Entertainer. I said, that's your real name? He said, that's one I'm gonna go with, dog. I said, all right. I said, hey man, right before the headliner go up, can you do 5 minutes?
Clear it out.
He said, how much you want? I said, give me 10. I put Ced on that stage, 10 minutes, he got a standing ovation. So the next night, I paid him $50 to stick around. He did another 10 minutes, but he did a different 10. Got another standing ovation. Third night, I said, hey man, if you stay, I'll give you $100. You know, back in '89. He said, man, hell yeah. So he stayed, I paid him $100. We exchanged numbers, we became friends. And then the next week, I gave him his first headline gig. I paid him $1,000. Ced started crying. He said, man, nobody never gave me no $1,000. I said, you funny dude, man. Gave him $1,000. Ever since that day right there, me and Ced have never had a disagreement, an argument, an exchange of words. Ever. Steve Harvey show, Kings of Comedy, me and that dude, ride or die. We stay in touch with each other. Best friend I ever had in this business right here, Cedric the Entertainer.